This is the What's Next podcast, Houston's #1 platform where I invite creatives to share their journeys and give us a depiction of their visions. Most importantly, the last question I'll ask is, what's next? Oh, man. It's 3 o'clock in the morning. Houston, Texas, I got to apologize for episode number 85. The visual was terrible. Thought I was doing big boy stuff. Coloring was off. We're back in the white room. Wait for it. Walk with us.
Yo, it feel like 95. Sachi on my body. Biggie, chicken, puffy, all that ballin' is a hobby.
And I'm wildin' in my Wale's. Opening song by one of the illest groups I've ever known, the Nice Guys. That is Over Toast. Houston, Texas, welcome back to episode number 86 of the What's Next podcast, a production of Still Visionary, Inc. Saturday morning, 3 o'clock in the morning. Trying to get this episode done.
One for the books.
This one's for the books. Welcome back to the What's Next podcast. This is a creative story. Before we get started with the episode, let's introduce our social media handles so we don't disrupt the flow of the conversation when we get to that point. Want me to go? All right, you go.
I am Nigel Hayward, and you can reach me on Instagram at official.nigelmonroe, NIGUELMONROE, one word.
And my name is John Ross Dike I, and you can follow me on Instagram and on Twitter at John Ross Dike and still_visionary. If you would, connect with me on LinkedIn, subscribe to my YouTube channel, like my fan page on Facebook, and visit my website at stillvisionary.com. Directly in front of you, I have all the t-shirts that I sell out the trunk of my car and on my website. And you can shop at stillvisionary.com/merch. Listen, Nige, I done it all in my lifetime. When I said that in episode 85, I forgot to include the fact that I've done independent films. I've written independent films. I've driven school buses, like I said. I've coached. I've worked at Disney World. I've driven metro buses. I've taught. I'm a realtor now. By the way, I did.
Congrats, man. Congrats.
Thank you. I did. Thank you. I did. On the night that the Miami Heat lost their first game in the finals, I took that energy of that loss, but it did not translate over to the exam I passed. And so now I need to pass my state and national exam to get that licensure. So I done it all, man. But one of the moments that I'm very, very proud of is being a high school basketball coach. Which is where Houston, Texas, I met this fine young gentleman sitting to my right. So this is where I'll go with it, man. If you could define yourself with one word, what would that word be?
Most definitely potent, because myself, I'm a fragrance connoisseur, and fragrances have a tendency of being really potent sometimes, especially niche. So it's either you're going to really love it or you're going to really hate it.
Right.
Type deal.
Right. And I kind of get the sense from you, right? I never got the privilege of teaching you at Wall Trip, but when I think back to how you performed on the basketball court, it's either you're really gonna love Nigel or you're really gonna hate Nigel, right? And I want to stray away from the hate because you were a kid at that time, so you really don't know the reasons why a coach would do what he did at that moment. But why do you think that a coach would do what he did, i.e. take you out the game when you were performing at your peak or when you were performing at a lower level? Why do you think that a coach would have taken you out the game at that time?
I feel like to reserve my energy for what's to come, because, he may need me later on down the line, and especially in the fourth quarter.
Right.
I remember a lot of those nights.
Right. I used to love about you the most how when you were coming out, you would be angry. You could see it in your face that you were focused and you were angry about coming out. but you sat down for a second and you took a deep breath and it was like it was over, and you were back locked in, ready for your moment to get back into the game.
Have to be. Same way with life.
Yeah. What do you think that people should take from this episode today?
No matter what life throws at you, focus, concentrate, and pay attention, and just make the most of it.
Right. Who taught you that?
My dad, most definitely.
Yeah. I get the sense that your father, who I came to know very well during your time at Wall Trip, plays a big part in your life.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Can you explain? Give me something about that. How do you feel that he has kind of cultivated you? What's the word I'm looking for? Kind of molded your mind state and how you think and approach things in life. How do you think your father has affected that?
My dad used basketball as a way to really mold my vision of life.
Right.
In the sense of, if you want something, just do it. Just go for it.
Right.
Just go for it. Don't let no one tell you what you can and can't do.
Right.
If that's what you want and you know it,
Right.
if you believe you want it, if you desire it, your strength is within your desire. So go for it. Go get it. What you waiting on?
Right.
Type deal.
So this podcast, man, is a podcast where I invite creatives to share their journeys and give us a depiction of their visions. And what I mean by that is I'm watching you, right?
Okay.
And I'm not talking about you. I'm just speaking in general. I'm watching the creative.
Oh, okay.
Right? I'm watching the creative, right? And I fall in love with the fact of how people go through their journeys from step one to the point where they get to where they need to be or want to be, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I created a platform not only to get that story, but to, give my story as well within the confines of my platform, right? Mm-hmm. And so where I felt like I was going wrong initially was it was all artists, people that rap, sang, danced, did poetry. But I changed that word from artist to creative because creation is so much more than just arts. People, when you create a way of life, that is something that you've made from the ground up for yourself.
Okay. Right.
And so I wanted to bring you on here to talk about your ventures, see how college is treating you, if it is in fact worth every dime that you've spent on it, and just learn something from you. This is this platform is not about interviewing people. I like to call it, we have conversations, because in conversations you can learn something from somebody, whether you're giving or whether you're receiving, right? And so when you speak about your experiences in college and how you're getting to that point where you are trying to get for yourself in your career, there's something in there that I feel that I can take and apply to my own journey. And so that's why I think that the difference is that I don't give interviews. I just have conversations on here.
Okay.
So you graduate from Wall Trip in 2017.
Correct.
And then you go right into college. Do you think that was always your path to go to college, or is it something that you needed in your career?
Oh man, if you asked me that back at the time when I graduated, I thought I was gonna be a college basketball star.
Right.
But it took really my brothers really sitting me down and telling me, like, hey, look, Nigel, I mean, life is bigger than basketball. Really just opening up my eyes.
Wow.
And that really made me soul search, really dig deep and question, like, is that really what I want to do for the rest of my life?
Right.
Because at a certain point in time, like I was telling my little sister, it becomes a job.
Right.
Is that really what you want to do?
Right.
For the rest of your life? And it just got my gears going. And I was like, man, I was always very outspoken. I was always very, very fluent in expressing myself. I used to like write poems and do motivational speaking. I was a superintendent of my church at one point in time.
Mm-hmm.
And it really just
motivated you.
Yeah, in a sense, yeah.
It's crazy because when you hear that, I too, and here's the difference between you and I never played a high school basketball game in my life, right? And so I too thought that at one point I would have the opportunity to go to college and play basketball in college, until I realized that, well, I realized when I failed English my senior year in high school, and my mom was like, "Nah, you're done."
I'm sorry to hear.
When I failed English, I realized that there are other things in life, and I think that a lot of times we as African American men in society, it's either dribble, rap, or the other lifestyle. It's never anything that is not the extraordinary, right? And so when you say that, I'm reminded of how that is every African American kid's vision, is to go to the league and play basketball. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So you get into college, right? You're going to college. How do you decide on your major? After you've had that conversation with your older brothers and you have that conversation with your sister, now that you're in college, what is that conversation like within yourself for you to say, okay, well, I want to do this, and this is the reason why I want to do this?
Well, off the rip, I knew it was either one or two things. It was either nursing or, three things: either nursing, engineer, or communications, just writing.
Right.
I used to love to write.
Right.
Used to love to write, and I knew I wasn't willing to spend the rest of my life cleaning up somebody's throw up.
Shout out to all the frontline workers.
Real life.
Yeah.
Unless it's like somebody I really care about, of course, like
right.
a family member,
right,
type deal. But engineering, I'm cool in math, but I'm not no wizard.
Yeah.
When it comes to the numbers, so I was like, you know what? I see myself more in the light of a writer.
Right.
I like to express myself. And I had a friend who I met way back, and I believe it was my senior year in high school, actually.
Right.
Shout out to Leslie Dellisbohr. She really helped me really figure out what it is exactly that I really wanted to do.
Right.
And I just kind of took that and just ran with it.
Right.
Straight like that.
Okay, so creativity comes from experiences. What I mean by that is to get to the What's Next podcast from my previous podcast, I had to stop podcasting for a while. Mm-hmm. And my homeboy, shout out to my man, Darren Tizano, rather. He hit me and he was like, "Yo, Jay, when you're ready to level up, give me a call. We can do lunch." I didn't know what that meant at the time, right? All I knew is that every time I was going to the studio, right, I was breaking the bank to record a podcast. Mm-hmm. And so my man, who was Darren, has a specialty in audio, right? So he gives me all this equipment. He's like, "Listen, we got to elevate. We got to push ourselves to the next level. We got to stop waiting on people to help us or hand it to us. We got to push ourselves to the next level."
Real life.
So he gives me all this equipment, right? And at the time, I'd already had in my mind that, listen, I think what it was that sparked that gift from him was that I told him, "Listen, I'm ready to come out of the studio when it comes to podcasting." Mm-hmm. He said, "Now you're talking my language." He gives me a little mini mixer, a couple of microphones that I still cherish to this day. And here I am with a mobile podcast, right? So when I say creativity comes from experiences, that was the experience that brought about this level of creativity. When we talked in the text, you told me that you're getting ready to host a radio show. Mm-hmm. Talk to me about that. Where does that come from for you?
Where does it come from?
Yeah, well, how did that opportunity come about?
Oh, okay. So, well, of course, like as we discussed, the plan is to become a news anchor.
Right.
And first I have to start off as a reporter. Mm-hmm. So, I had a friend that I met way back at PV my freshman year in college. Right. And we just been talking, just keeping in touch. And I told him exactly what it is I wanted to do and whatnot. And it just came to a conversation one day. Like, "Man, look, I work for this internet radio," because that's more so what the industry of communication is moving towards now. So it was like an internet radio. I can't remember the exact name. But yeah, it came to a conversation one day. He was like, "Man, before you know it, you're going to be graduating." you will graduate. And you have to work on your fan base. You have to work on promoting yourself. Are you doing any of that?
Mm.
And I was just shook. I was like, man, he's right. And then I think until like, it was probably a couple months ago, 2 or 3 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
It was in July. He got on at this 92 Kelz. Shout out to my boy JJ, the promoter. Much love. And he just got me on board with that. He has his own studio brand. It's called The Studio. And I just been rocking with it ever since.
Right.
Put me on the 92 Kelz, just doing my thing with that.
Right. So they're going to give you a segment, a time slot.
Oh, yeah, most definitely.
Do you know what you're going to be talking about?
Not yet.
Right.
But soon to come. I have to figure it out one way or another.
Okay.
Make it happen.
Okay.
Sure enough.
Well, listen, I love this podcasting thing, man. I think it, one thing that I've heard over and over again on various levels is my album is dropping, right? And, I asked my man one time, I said, hey, man, I don't know why it is that even independent artists have that thrill, right? Mm-hmm. And when I sit back and I think about it, every time I drop a new episode, it reminds me of that, hey, my album is coming. Because for a time period, you get that light, like it's all about you. It's like a birthday.
Okay.
Every time you get a birthday, or every year your birthday comes, you get that one day where you feel ultimately special. Nobody else's birthday, unless you have a birthday with you have your birthday on the same day as somebody else's. But it's your day. You're celebrated, and that's what this podcast means for me. When I drop on Tuesdays, 6 p.m. Central Standard Time, I feel like it's a celebration, right? This next segment I want to bring you to. Again, this podcast and this platform is all about promoting people. So, for example, when you create that first episode, I want to take about a minute or two of it. I want to play it on this podcast.
Okay.
In reference to you being on this podcast before, episode number 86. But I had my homeboy, no doubt. I had my homeboy come on this podcast, right? Mm-hmm. Actually, he's the line brother of Coach Babin. And Coach Babin, he subbed at Wall Trip a little bit when you were there, right? Dark-skinned brother, about 6 foot tall. But you'd know his face when you see him. I probably have to see him. Right. Yeah. His line brother is a musician. Mm-hmm. He came on a podcast. He talked. Every Friday he drops a record. He dropped this record yesterday. Mm-hmm. And I want to play it. Are you ready?
Let's hear
it. Listen, hey, this segment of the podcast is called Is It a Vibe? I know that y'all hate the horns, but it just adds flavor, right? This record is called Change by Echol Remix. Echol, you killed this one, baby.
You need change. Woo! You should let me take you away from here. And you get them things that you've been missing. Good loving and affection. Think you need change.
Yeah.
You should let me take you away from here. And you get them things that you've been missing. Good loving and affection, yeah. It was a matter of time.
Come on.
Girl, you've been on my mind heavy. Hey, when I saw you go
guitar
by,
right there, man, it's killing.
Girl, it was the size of it. Yeah.
He plucking that thing.
I think I know what's been going on.
Come on.
Baby, it's written on your face. You ain't happy at home, no. But I wanna see you smile.
Come on.
Cause every woman needs something real. Oh, baby, tell me, would you let me love you like you need? Hey, I promise that you won't compete for my time and energy. Hey, girl, I wanna be your everything.
Change.
You should let me take you away from here. And you get them things that you've been missing. Good loving and affection. Make you need change.
Background singers, man, killing.
Let me take you away from here. And you get them things that you've been missing. Good loving and affection, yeah.
Verse 2.
The way that you walk and the way that you talk, so sexy, baby. No other girl competes to your body, your style, and your physique. Ooh. Look, I seen your man and your man no good for you. It should be me every morning, waking up next to you. Girl, let me do all the things that he's scared of, like giving my all to no other woman but you, girl. I'm coming home every night. I can prove it to you if you let me try. Yeah, it's just something about you won't let me go home without having you next to me. Girl, would you let me know? 'Cause change, you should let me take you away from here and give you them things that you've been missing. Good loving and affection. Making me change.
Houston, Texas, I love this podcasting game.
Give you them things that you've been missing. Good loving and affection, yeah. Won't you come with me?
Listen, man,
Come on, let's go away.
it might not be the right
You could be
song with two men sitting next to each other. I understand that. But listen, man, I love supporting people, man. I do. I think this is what this platform is for, man, just to showcase what people work their tails off for, right? And I think that that's what independent artists have always wanted, for me especially. Let me speak for myself.
Okay.
I've always wanted that somebody would appreciate my work ethic, my talent, my artistry, right? And so in creating this platform, that's exactly what I wanted to do for everybody else, to know that, listen, I'm watching you. I respect your craft. I love your craft. And if I'm rocking with you, the least I can do is share what it is that you profess that you do, right? So, again, not the appropriate song to play.
He took it there.
But listen, my man was killing that. I listened to that record 4 times today. So, you know,
I have to download that myself.
I will share. I'll
Feeling
text
that.
you. I'll text that record to you, man. So, what song's on your mind right now?
I'm a huge Rick Ross fan, so I'd say Rick Ross That Way, because that's just my vibe when I step into a scene.
Okay.
I mean, that's just me.
Okay, and I'm gonna go, of course, Echol Remix Change, and I'm gonna go Nas Spicy off of his latest album. You know, listen, Nas is the greatest rapper alive, man. Anytime I get a chance to rap something or somebody or somebody's cause, my own cause, I'm gonna do so. Okay, man. So today is October the 3rd. Shout out to all the Libras that I know. Shout out to my man Phil Adesulu. He just had a birthday on the 1st. Shout out to my man Dadrian Collins. He had a birthday on the 2nd. Shout out to my homegirl Shayla Phillips. She had a birthday to today, in fact. Today is October the 3rd, 2020. We have 89 days left in the 2020 year. What do you hope to attain in 89 days?
Go out to more social gatherings, most definitely. Further promote myself at this point in time. I would say to really just establish more connections. Yeah, that's my main priority right now at this point in my college career. Just really just promoting myself. So for me, that'd be it.
Okay, so you know, I understand diving into a new realm, right? And let's just say that you get in, right, and you find out that maybe you're a better journalist than you are a news anchor. Okay, let's say that you find that out before you get to that point where you've graduated and you've done all your internships, and you know you're on the way to that you're on the way to that moment, and you figure out, man, you know what, I'm really better at this, right? What does that look like for you to change? What is that going to look like? And the reason why I say that is because
That's a good question.
Initially with this podcast, right, I did not want to say that I dropped every Tuesday because of the likelihood of a Tuesday coming and I didn't drop. And I didn't want to be a man that didn't keep his word. You know what I'm saying? So initially I would say Tuesday's coming, And then if I got an episode in line for the next Tuesday it's coming. So it hadn't become a habit. It hadn't become who I was to the core, right? Like when I leave this crib, right, I'm always going to wear my wedding ring. I'm always going to have my wallet, my ID, my cell phone. I'm always have my Mason ring, my Mason card and everything like that, right? But when Tuesday comes and this episode drops at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time, okay, on my website, stillvisionaire.com, right? The second it drops at 6:01, 6:05, I'm thinking about the next episode. So now I feel confident in saying, you know what? Every Tuesday, because regardless, I'm going to drop on Tuesday. Mm-hmm. So what happens if you change your mind in this journey? You get to the radio show and you feel, okay, you get to the radio show, you get on there and you bomb the first episode, right? What happens then? Do you stick with it or if the change comes, what does that look like for you?
I'm going to start by saying practice always makes perfect, and there's always room for improvement.
Okay.
But if it just so happens to come down to, well, I find out that I am a better journalist than a news anchor or a news reporter, then it just is what it is.
Okay.
Life is going to always throw you curveballs. Just run with it. Just make the most of it, like I said.
Okay.
And just adjust.
Okay. So,
My
fam,
dad always tell me, just adjust, make it happen.
So, fam, listen, again, like we said, it's 3:00 in the morning, right? Mm-hmm. Listen, I'm here. I feel like giving off some gems. Anything you got that you want to know, ask, and I will tell. What's going on? Talk to me, man. You got to tell me something before we wrap this episode up. What do you want to know? Where have you found that you could be better at? What do you want to know, man? Because I'm ready to drop some gems.
Oh man, we could most definitely get together on some editing. Cause
no doubt.
I know for sure I'm not gonna brag on my editing skills, but they're coming along.
Yeah.
But really, what made you want to start podcasting? Because who knows of a teacher, a basketball coach, a former basketball coach, just out of the blue, I have a podcast.
That's
You're very good at it though.
Thank you.
Thank
you. Let me do it. That's a very great question, man. Very, very good question. And this is what I'll say. When I started my journey in production, right? This is something my wife used to tell me. She was like, "Listen, it seems like you have too many irons on the fire, right?" When I started this journey with production, I was looking for what it was that I was good at. What is it that I can say? Because I come from a family where 3 of my siblings play collegiate sports, right? Had I realized at the time that I wasn't an athlete and focused more on the arts, because I've always been a poet like yourself. I've always been a poet, right? And so when I got my jump into acting, I felt shortly after that, especially in Houston, that the opportunity to do what I love to do, which is in that moment was act, was falling short. So I said to myself, well, if I want to feel this again, I got to create it on my own. I can't wait for anybody. I can't wait for anybody to bring it to me. So in the midst of creating it on my own, I wrote a web series that Grussel Diaries.
The Grussel. Not the Grussel.
I wrote a web series, wrote a short film, and being in a production company, I felt like we need more to produce. So what was it that would be less overhead and could be a quick turnaround, something that you could always be consistent at? And at the time, I started listening to, radio was changing. I started listening to podcasts. I think I started off with Joe Budden's podcast, and I found a couple other podcasts here and there, Nori's podcast, and just like I did with the short films that I wrote, like when Grussel Diaries was about friendship, it was about the journey, and it was about actors who were trying to get to the next level, right? So I said the same thing. Well, if I want to podcast, I want to talk to my friends, and I want to just vibe. right? And so I got into podcasting like that because it was a project that we could do like this. When we were doing the short film, man, it took forever. It took a lot to put it together.
I believe it.
It took finding a cameraman, trying them out.
People really don't know what all goes into play behind the scenes.
Facts.
And as a communications major, I believe
Facts.
it, I understand.
Facts.
I'm partially doing it now.
Facts. And so, I'm doing this. We're doing this web series, and at the time, we're paying $650 an episode. You know what I'm saying? So this is before I was at Wall Trip. Mm-hmm. I was driving school buses at the time. I'm talking about driving school buses. I was currying, delivering things. I was delivering pizzas. I was doing everything. Like I said, I was doing everything just so I could provide for this passion that I had, right? And I said, man, I'm talking to my man at the time. I'm like, listen, if we do this, you know what I'm saying? We gotta keep creating. We gotta keep creating. But it takes a lot. You gotta write, you gotta edit, then you gotta find the right people, then you gotta find actors, then you gotta find locations, then you gotta record, you gotta change wardrobes, you gotta record, you gotta change wardrobes. That scene's not good enough. It was too much of a large amount of things to do and too long of a turnaround. So I said, what other project can we do? When I found out about podcasting, I said, we could do podcasting. We could talk for about an hour. It costs about $50 or whatever. We don't have to do it on our own. We could go to a studio. Went to a studio, and we recorded our first episode. And that's how I got into podcasting. Fell in love with it. It literally is. I mean, if we're doing audio and video. Yeah. But if it was audio, man, add a theme song, front and end, boom, chop it out. We talking about an MP3 file, no more than 33 megabits. It's up, it's gone. You know what I'm saying? So it's quick turnaround. Way to stay connected and consistent, and that's how I got started with it. So I love it, man. For me, I love being able to showcase myself. Is the bottom line. Like I told you in the car, listen, I'm an independent artist to the core. So if I don't get out there and say, hey, Nigel, I'm doing a show, and you'll be like, you act? I'm like, yeah, I'm doing a show. You should come check me out. If I don't do that, and the things that I've done in acting, I don't get paid. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
And so that's just from in it, but I mean, that's just my journey. Uh-huh. Some people's journeys are different. Some people have managers, some people have agents, some people, are models. Mm-hmm. I'm an independent actor. I've always been independent. So for me, the only way I know how to get it is on my own. Yeah. Right? So I find out what I want to do. I research it. I find like-minded people. I involve them. And we just get out there. We use social media. We promote ourselves. And, you got to start somewhere.
True.
You start with
Very
1,
true.
2 views. Eventually, 1, 2 views goes to 10.
Yeah.
And then it becomes a habit. So that's how I got started in podcasting, man. So, I want to do another podcast and reach a different audience, right? But it's still in the works because here's the thing. I've learned through this platform that if you're not committed, you're wasting your time.
That's with anything you do in life.
So I want the people that I involve in whatever podcast I'm doing outside of this one have to say, listen, I'm going to do this podcast forever until I make it in it.
Sign me up. Sign me up.
So if they're not focused on that, no matter what the outcome looks like, listen, we only have 2 or 3 viewers. If they're not focused on the next one until we get to where we want to get, that's gonna rub me wrong, man.
I feel you.
Yeah, man. So what else you got up before you go? When you going back to school?
Monday. I'm back and forth from Dallas to Florida and Huntsville, Texas.
Okay.
Yeah.
Listen, I wish you an abundance amount of fortune in the future.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
I want you to attain everything that you have in store for yourself. I appreciate conversations like this because it gives me insight to what you guys are thinking. You're like the fourth. So I had, like I told you, I had 44 Purple on here. I had Zay on here. I had his name, man. His Instagram, his YouTube channel is popping right now. I said his name in the car. Damn it. He was on episode number 58 of my podcast, Influencer. Jordan Sinet. Sorry, Jordan. I had Jordan on here. I have you on here now. So, I mean, you know, you are the kids that I've had on the podcast. And you're not a kid, but you are the kids that I've had on the podcast that I've seen grow up in high school, right? And I appreciate episodes like this because it lets me know that y'all are watching, right? Most importantly, the last question I'll ask is, what's next for you?
Graduate college and make it happen. Take the right steps to become the news anchor. Just execute my plan and stick to it. Put God first.
Okay.
That part.
Okay. What I like to give on the podcast, man, is listen, there is no other podcast in this city. Okay. And I mean this sincerely.
Are you serious?
There's no other podcast in this city that produces their own podcast. Okay. Produces their own T-shirts. Right. And then at the end of their podcast, they give their guest a token of their company. And what I have here is an exclusive SVI T-shirt. And when I say exclusive, I mean nobody that isn't on this podcast or hasn't come to this podcast gets this T-shirt. I don't sell it, right? I don't sell it. I wear it because I've done 86 episodes of this podcast. I wear it. Right, but nobody else gets to wear that T-shirt. You can buy the other colors. I got red, I got white, I got black and red logo, I got cream and red logo, navy and white logo, gray nice. And charcoal nice. and white logo. I got the What's Next Podcast T-shirts up there, and this is an exclusive black What's Next Podcast T-shirt that I give you to as well.
Thank you.
And I want to say thank you, man. I wish you again abundance of fortune in your future. And I look forward to playing your clip on the podcast.
Thank you,
No
man.
problem, man. Houston, Texas. This is Nigel Hayward to my right. My name is John Ross Dike I. Rest in peace to my baby boy, John Ross Dike II. Kizzy Danae Farmer Dike, I love you with all my heart and soul. Houston, Texas, I do what I do for myself to prove that I can do it for others. This is episode 86. 86. Peace and blessings.
Yo, it feel like 95. Sachi on my body. Biggie, chicken, puffy. All that ballin' is a hobby. And I'm wildin' in my wallies. And them valleys, no Pilates. More way get you more way. Nah, that's the Spumante. My crystal ball, I see crystal. I crystal y'all with that. I saw the sign like ace of spades. That ace of spades get cracked me like cheers to the money guys. The Willie niggas who buy them bottles. And then they spill these liquors. Yo, salute my dude. I see you, dog. 5 bottles, 1 dick. Why I need 2 bras? I know I'm out of line, but love is shower time. You know it rose rain when your cloud is 9. Get off that high ass hussy. This a private party. Been on my dick too long. Your breath on private party. You gon' be nice and naughty. These walls on priceless Audi. This the upper crust. Fuck it.